Hey, good morning. David Charron. I used to be somebody. I've moved on from who's who to who's he. I ran a company called MRIS. We were a large multiple listing service in the Mid-Atlantic. About 6 years ago, merged into what is now Bright MLS, that covers South Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, parts of Virginia, D.C., parts of West Virginia. Big, about 100,000, 110,000 members. Other people are running that organization now and doing a great job. But pleased to be here. Good morning.
From a completely different perspective, you've been around the block. In many ways, you define the block.
Be nice.
In all other ways. But, this is my 23rd year in the industry, and I remember, visiting MLSs that I was calling upon, building that software that you described as being designed in the 90s. I probably had a hand in that. Thanks a lot, Matthew. But, your stacks of books are sitting in the corner, of offices and so on, and you've certainly been around to see the industry go from that being the standard of data collection and distribution to, you helped define a lot of those things. So what have you seen in your career as the evolution of the MLS?
When I came to MRIS prior to MRIS back in 2000, I was with a MLS vendor selling technology to MLSs and associations. And then I went to the other side went to the MLS side. And we decided early on that we thought that the most important thing for us to do was to have complete control over the database. We built our own database. We had a big enough channel that we could support it. It's not for the weak of heart, but we did not want to cede control of that most important asset to any third party whose business model might undergo some kind of a change. And I think all of us have seen that, and we've worried about that over the years. And we also decided at the time to build our own front end, particularly with focus on the ad edit module. And so we've maintained that for some 20 plus years. What's happened is that technology is not the inhibitor. Controlling the data, we could talk about what control means since it's ubiquitous. Data is everywhere. But we want to be that first in line. We want to be able to, at least to Shane's words, we want to make sure have the rules around protecting and ensuring that pristine data. Incidentally, I want to make one comment about what Carlos and both Shane said. They both use the words trust a lot. Trust is really the currency of our business. And I think what's really changed in the business in my time is that we're becoming more trusting with the people with whom we partner with. We vet them a little more carefully than we did, but we have a trust. So trust is the currency of our business. The last thing I'll say about things that we might bring on in terms of how things have changed, if the product that you're introducing to the market doesn't at least impact 5 or 10% of your membership base, it's probably something you shouldn't support. It's probably energy that's better spent elsewhere. And I think we've all been used to that shiny object syndrome, for lack of a better term. And I think it's important that as you consider what your technology solutions are going to be as you move forward, think about the number of people that are actually going to use it and benefit from it.
Given that most MLS organizations do not carry technical staff, true CTO technical staff, and I'm saying maybe not those people on the stage, but the other 490 or so MLSs, are we even able to put those apples back in a cart to be successful in the way that you designed back at MRIS, David?
I think so. I really do. I think pride of ownership is one thing, but pride gets in the way of. When I took over MRIS 20-something years ago, we were broke. We had proprietary technology, and we were run by elitists. We had an arrogance about us that just didn't make any sense. And so we were able to overcome a lot of that over the years. I think technology has evolved in such a way that had there been standards then, and incidentally, I was on one of the early RISO board of directors. I was a member of the RISO board of directors, and I got voted on somehow. And I went to my first meeting, and I realized, you guys speak a language that I'm not familiar with at all. As a business person, I knew what I wanted from a system, but these guys were really talking about data transport and things like that that are well beyond my capabilities to fully appreciate and understand. So I want to give a shout out to the pioneers of this, which were the volunteers in the first years, and then they brought in Jeremy, who gave real rigor and regimen and process to RISO, and with the help of Art and Rebecca as great leaders. And now we've got, of course, Sam, who is doing a great job of bringing this out. But had we had standards back then, I'm not sure that we would have certainly approached this very differently than we do today. We would have approached it then very differently. It would have been much easier. It would have been much less expensive. To your point, you can invest more readily. You didn't build it yourself, but you acquired it, and you're satisfied with it. John D. did the same thing, I believe, with much of his technology. So I think the standards piece is the foundation upon which all things can build, and that wasn't there years ago. I'm so excited to see this. So I think the pieces are all there. What I am having a little challenge with, and I'll say this as a question to the panel, that I think is, if I'm in the audience and I'm with our European partners here, it's one thing for us to say, well, we've got this big channel of 100,000 or 50,000 or 87,000, whatever it is, Mary Jo, you have. I wish we had that problem, said some of the people in the audience. And how do we get that? How do we start at a certain level and work our way up to that? And I'll be interested to see if the conversation in the next day and a half.
How would you say that Bright MLS has benefited from that? And is that something you feel like is going to continue?
Well, you can't, to build your own product is a Herculean task, and you just can't decide you're going to fund it and then there's got to be some internal expertise. You have to have some competency in-house in order to step out and do certain things. And I think that in the case of Bright, over the years, they've invested mightily in making certain that that expertise is available. Clearly, this is an industry where the first person out isn't necessarily the best solution that's out there. And so we all improve on each other's successes and, quite frankly, learn from each other's mistakes. So we're able, being first is not necessarily the best. That said, you've got to get it funded. You've got to have folks that are visionary. You can't be solving just one small specific need. You've got to be satisfying, to your point, an eclectic group of people and a big number. You've got to be able to pay for it. You've got to understand that when you invest in technology, it's not something that you invest in and then stop. You keep investing and investing and investing. It's just never completely finished. I want to go, if I may, I want to build on what Jeremy just said and Em said about their directors. Increasingly, we're seeing boards that are inviting outsiders to join their boards, to bring a different opinion, a different perspective. I think we worry about groupthink. In the past, yes, they're all brokers, they're all interested in what the MLS is doing, but there are some markets where those brokers would allow just enough blood to flow to the brain, and the staff didn't have the capability or the desire to challenge them. And I think bringing in people that are outside the industry that have specific areas of expertise really helps you as a CEO and helps you as a board member and helps the entirety of your organization to think about things a little differently. So I encourage those of you who are thinking about building something bigger and greater, think about making sure that it's not just the primary participants that are the decision makers. Make sure you get those outside opinions.
Yeah, great point.